Yeah. Maybe could you walk around? Because the camera doesn't capture anything after this.
Okay.
So just think of that as different.
So, everything here.
Yeah.
I'm blue. I'm yellow. I'm red. Where are we? I don't know. I just woke up. Let's look at this space. I see a lot of dots in colors red, blue, yellow, and also white. What does this mean? Everything here is in a pattern. Fractals and patterns are responsible for everything we know, perceive, and create as humans. Before language, before art, before technology, there were patterns. The human species' superpower is pattern recognition. It's what helped us evolve into who we are today. Everything we know and think passes through this lens. The world provides patterns and fractals everywhere we look, like the golden ratio, which demonstrates every role pattern can mathematically describe nature. From our own brain's cognitive processes, we're able to build a central processing unit. A CPU allows the entire world and reality to unfold around it. Instead of navigating the physical world, we navigate a screen. Instead of storing something in memory, we store it in a data center, the central nervous system and processor of our digital creation. It matters to know what we're doing. The fulfilling a survival instinct we have always carried, to recognize patterns and use them to make tools. In an age where everything feels convoluted or unclear, my art is a practice and a reminder of pattern recognition itself. We can see one thing, understand its principles, and apply them to something else entirely. It's the only thing I know for certain, and so I keep returning to it. The repeating shapes of plaster move throughout the space, from walls into objects, from surfaces into forms. They replicate a dimension of the world I'm trying to see. The work is a positioning, a way of standing inside the pattern long enough to recognize it, and to make it visible enough that you can step inside it too and see what I see, how everything moves from one day to another. I'm obsessed with understanding my world, my life, everything around me, and this is the only way I know how to do it. Searching for the essential patterns, positioning myself to see the connections, finding that what seems impossibly complex is made of the same few simple things, and finding that somehow clarifying. If everything is pattern, everything is ultimately understandable. For me, this dimension of patterns is something like a higher power. There's comfort in the predictability of it, in knowing that underneath everything, no matter how chaotic or unclear, there's the work that holds.
I'm just like walking around doing random shit.
Yeah, I saw you too.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I saw you gone.
I'm so tired.
Thanks. What if it's not recording? No, it was. So this is kind of a 0 and 1 is 1 exhibition, meditation, and reflection of the space kind of video that I wanted to make. Hopefully the echo of this space isn't so bad so that people can't hear me, but 0 and 1 is 1. An exhibition, an object exhibition representing Alexander Flynn. A exhibition about patterns, an exhibition very personal to Alexandra, and how she understands the world and how she sees the world. I'll skip all what this exhibition is about, because this video is also going to be about what this exhibition is about, in a sense, but not in a very direct manner. You can find that information below, and you can directly listen to what Xandra thinks of this space and has planned with this space in the videos below as well. So I encourage you to check that out. This video is more about the actual installation process of this exhibition, and the other aspects and characteristics that were present while this exhibition was going on. Obviously, first things first, you see this space. This space is a very wide space, many dots, all in a recognizable pattern. They're divided into dots of red, blue, yellow, and white. Then you got these dots on the ground, which are all white dots, that at the front of the room, it's very tightly packed, and as you go more into the room, they kind of disperse out. And then you have the highlight of the exhibition and of the installation, these 3 sculptures that are all kind of semi-facing each other. Yeah, so that's what we can directly see. Regarding the space and what, at least on my end or on Oxy's end, we were trying to think about was this challenge and maybe this balance between such a minimal and liminal space, yet having a lot of things also be present in that space. Obviously, this room does feel, it can feel a little empty, but at the same time, it isn't empty because there's literally like these little dots all over the room. And I think it's this tension and this like pull and push of, am I in a minimal space or am I in a maximal space? Maximalistic space. Yeah, I think the room or this installation itself plays around with that idea a lot. There's a lot of aesthetics that come out of minimalism, but then there's also a very contrasting aesthetic that comes out of maximalism, and those two things are at very different ends. But for some reason, I think this room is at both ends at the same time while maintaining this balance. And I think that's a very conceptually interesting thing to kind of dig around and play with, especially in this space, because this whole time where I looked over this exhibition and managed it, I was always having this thought of like, is it too empty? Is it too packed? What is it? I think that's a thought that I had every day coming into this space, opening the exhibition day is the audio aspect that isn't on right now, obviously because like I'm talking. But with the audio aspect, I got Alexandra to send me some of some audio files that I can put into Python, and basically I created a code so that these three sculptures or these three entities would have a conversation, ping pong conversation with each other about being aware of this space, being in this space, and about the exhibition. I also programmed this so that it could rearrange the audio file so it doesn't come off as a script, but more of some sort of dialogue, some sort of existing conversation within this space. But I made it so that there would be some sort of consistent narrative that the audience can catch on, and therefore the audience being more aware of what's going on, what this space is meant for, maybe even without me having to do a lot of explaining myself. And the intention behind that was I had the speakers behind these walls so that there would be this relationship that's conveyed that somehow you're in Alexandra's mind or brain or thoughts, while also being able to experience what she physically sees. It was this existence between two spatial dimensions. Maybe I'm explaining it too complicated, but it was basically existing in Xander's mind while existing in the world that Xander lives in. And this constant bounce back between the thoughts of Xander, but the reality that Xander sees because of these thoughts. And I thought that was a very interesting relationship to make, or to try to attempt to convey, because, at least I think it's interesting that you can be in both this physical world while being in this kind of more abstract world of imagination and thought of the artist. Another thing that I do want to mention is the walls and the saturation of the circles on the walls. One thing that I really wanted to play around with and thought that went well with this entire exhibition was Xander's notes. The whole documentary and the process of getting these works to Seoul and making these works and Xander's process through that will be out on Auxie's archive channel soon. But Xander's notes really inspired me and also really gave me the thought to this all happened kind of naturally, but I really like how saturated the colors on the circles are, especially these such familiar colors like blue, red, and yellow. Being so saturated brings that subtle craziness to the room. And because I was thinking of this very schizophrenic environment and this overwhelmingness while it being so, I looked at a lot of mental hospitals, especially to play around with lighting. I think if you go to a mental institution or an institution that concentrates on the well-being of the mental. Sorry. Ooh. Sneeze sneaking up on me. Anyway. I realized a lot of those spaces had a lot of white lights on the wall instead of on the ground. What I mean by this is, if you look at the lights, these lights are all, the white lights at least are shining towards the white wall, which isn't traditional in the sense of if there isn't a painting on the wall, then it's mostly sculptures. You shine the light on the sculpture, and usually it's not really like this corporate white light, but more of the yellowish lights. But the reason why I wanted to do this was I wanted to give the audience this subtle but overwhelming sense of pattern recognition, but also this subtle sense of craziness. And this idea of trying to understand something that you're so familiar with, but at the same time, it's weird because you should be able to recognize and understand what you're familiar with, yet you have a hard time doing so. A quote, not really like a quote, but something that Xander says that I think speaks volumes and exists in this space is that one of the reasons why she chose to do sculpture instead of other languages of disciplines is because she really felt like that language of sculpture resonated with what she wanted to say and understand and show herself, but also the world. And knowing Alexander myself, I think there's a lot of her in this space, obviously because she made the pieces, but in a very abstract and symbolic way, I really feel like I'm inside her brain while being the world that she sees. Some quick meditations, some quick notes that I kind of wanted to say at the end of the exhibition. I think it was a great exhibition.